Good morning. Welcome to our Franklin County Board of County Commissioners meeting on Wednesday, January the 31st. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Howard,
Present.
Commissioner Waymire,
Present.
Chair Renaud,
Present.
Vice Chair Oglesby,
Present.
Commissioner Dunn.
Present.
I would ask you to join me, please, in rising for the Pledge of Allegiance and remain standing for our invocation. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Let's pray. Heavenly Father God, we thank you for another day you've given us, Lord. We ask, Lord God, your direction upon this meeting, Lord God. We thank you for your many blessings, Lord. You're so good to us each and every day of our lives, Lord God. Help us to always give you the praise and the glory that you so deserve. And, Lord, just be with us in Jesus' name. Amen.
Thank you, sir. Okay, correspondence and organizational business. Derek, want to just go ahead and start with the first two that's on there, then move from that? Do you have anything you want to add first or last?
Let's get through our updates and then we can talk.
Okay. All right, first we have a Community Partners Quarterly Update from the East Central Kansas Area on Aging. Ms. Maxwell?
Good morning.
Morning.
I come once a year to tell you what we did with your county funding that you give our agency. You should have in your packets something that looks like this. It's our annual report. I don't know if do you have it in your packets?
It might be in the computer.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so you've got it in your packets. I won't read through it, but I'll kind of highlight some of the things that are in here. As a reminder, our agency covers 6 counties: Anderson, Coffee, Franklin, Lynn, Miami, and Osage. Our main function, as it has been for the last 50 years, is to provide and coordinate services for people age 60 and over. Our job basically is to keep people in their homes as long as they like to stay there in a safe environment. And then when they are ready to move out of their homes, and if they have to go to a nursing facility, then it's our job to go do the pre-admission screening that the state requires before they enter that nursing facility. The purpose of that screening is basically to just remind them there may be options for them to get more services in their home and stay there longer. And if not, if they really are to the point where they need 24 hours a day care, then we help them make that transition into the nursing facility. The other thing that our agency does right now is we provide Medicaid assessments for people who are frail elderly, physically disabled, or traumatic brain injury. And in addition, then it's just basically information and assistance. Anybody who has a question about the aging process, call the Area Agency on Aging and we'll either know the answer or refer you to somebody who does know the answer. So in my report, basically our agency spent around $2.4 million last year providing the various services that I talked about. In here, like I did last year, I had our case managers give me stories throughout the year, real people that they service, because I think I can stand up here and I can tell you we go do house cleaning, we clean people's toilets, we scrub people's floors, we go shopping for them. We work with Mid-America Nutrition Program, which is Angie Logan, who came along to, she's the new director there, to get them meals in their homes. We help them bathe if they are unable to do that. But to give you a real picture of what the situations look like, I have my case managers write up the stories. We try to partner with various agencies that we can. The state gives us $10,000 a year through APS funds, Adult Protective Services funds, that we can use to fill in gaps of people who are all ages, not just age 60 and over. If they don't meet any other criteria, if they're 50 years old and they're living in a really poor quality housing environment of some kind, and a lot of instances that we run into may be where they have roach infestations or mice and rodent infestations, and what they really need is they're their space cleaned up. They need things cleaned up. Then we can hire a company to come in with our APS dollars and help clean up that environment. And then hopefully that person will be able to keep it cleaner, stay in their home again instead of being evicted. A lot of our funding, that type of funding, does go to people under the age of 60 because there are very few places you can turn to if you're not age 60 or over. So that's one of the different types of funding that we work with. We provide a lot of custom care items. Sometimes a person just needs a lift chair, one of the chairs that just helps them get out of their chair so they don't have to stay in their chair all day. Or the types of chairs that actually go in, recline all the way into a bed because they can't really move very much, so they can't even get from their living room to their bedroom. So we can do custom care items. We've done a lot of hearing aids and dentures this past year. Again, it's funding that Medicare doesn't pay for it. It's expensive. Hearing aids, I learned a lot about hearing aids this past year. They are really expensive if you want to get a good one that actually helps you hear, doesn't just magnify the noise. So we've been able to use some of our funding for those types of things. I've got one story in here about how a couple of our case managers, we couldn't find a company who would go clean up a person's apartment who was going to be evicted. And so a couple of my case managers asked if they could go over and do it instead. Because this person was a client, just through no fault of her own, she just ended up with roaches and they were going to kick her out. So two of my case managers spent a day, they went over, they cleaned up her apartment, we paid to have it exterminated, and now that client is able to stay in her home. So when you do have a chance, I hope you kind of read through those stories so you can get a feel for the type of people that we help. And then I also, of course, have a story in there about our senior health insurance counseling program. And that's the one, once you turn 65 and you have questions of what to do. Do I sign up for Medicare? I'm still working. Do I need to be on Medicare? What do I get for free? What do I have to pay for? How does Social Security work? When can I start drawing my Social Security? How will that affect any benefits that I have? What kind of a prescription drug plan do I need? Help me get my life together. I've hit 65 and I don't know what to do. Leslie Rockers in our agency is the person you call. She's the expert, and we have volunteers in each of our counties who also will help people manage their way through the Medicare complicated system and hopefully help simplify that for people. And then as if people, anybody who's ever dealt with Medicare and your supplemental insurance companies, a lot of people who get bills from their health care providers will come in and say, do I really owe this? I thought I had insurance for everything, but they're sending me this $3,000 bill. Do I have to pay it? We'll help them navigate that and figure out who pays first, when did they pay, have they paid yet, and do you really owe that money or not? Generally, it's a not. You just give it time for the system to work itself out. So that's the type of services that we provide to people. Do you have any questions about what we've done? We get the federal, state dollars, and your county dollars match those federal and state dollars. So that's how our agency functions and serves lots of people.
How many counties do you cover?
We've got 6 counties.
6 counties.
6 counties. We're in the little box.
Okay.
One question, do you help people with their income tax?
We are not. We haven't for the last 2 years. We couldn't find enough volunteers to work with us to get trained, so we refer people to AARP generally. And we have a list. If people have questions, have them call our office. We have a list of who in our area is helping people with taxes this year.
I was thinking, too, that are there other vendors that, because the agency asks the price is reduced, or they negotiate, or like hearing aids or anything else that you go to, can you sometimes get a...
We do. We have to bid everything out. So on things that we know we're going to do more often, like working with dentists or hearing aid companies, at the beginning of each year we'll put out a bid so we can already know ahead of time pretty much what prices are going to be for us. So it is a competitive process. Same thing for our in-home service providers, the companies that we work with who actually go into the home and do the shopping and the cleaning and the bathing. We do it through a bid process. I can tell you though, with in-home service providers, it's tough. We don't have very many companies that will service our counties, and then the companies that we do get, they don't have enough workers. So oftentimes we'll actually have the money to provide the service, but we can't find a company or a worker who will provide the service for us. So it's an industry where they need workers. The pay is not high, and that's why they have difficulty finding workers. But it is definitely an area where if someone needs a job and they have a heart for helping people, it's an area where all the companies are looking for workers right now.
Okay. Anything else, guys?
So the program that you offer, Ms. Maxwell, and people that need assistance, keeps them in their home for longer periods of time than getting them into a facility, a cared facility. And the cost differential is significant, I would
Huge.
assume, right?
It's huge. A nursing facility can average about $175 a day. For $175 a month, we can get you some basic housekeeping and bathing assistance.
And it also requires that those that would go, if they were going to full assistance, to liquidate their assets.
If you're going to be on Medicaid, Medicaid's got some really strict guidelines, and you can get down to $2,000 in assets. So you have to liquidate all your assets ahead of time before you can even apply to be financially eligible. And people who want to get on Medicaid, I mean, I know you've heard the horror stories about CanCare and how the clearinghouse doesn't work and how long it takes for people to get on Medicaid, and it's all true. It's a horrible system. And there's two parts to getting on Medicaid. One, you have to be functionally eligible to get in-home services. So that's an assessment that we do. And you can qualify to be functionally eligible, but if you have too many assets, then you're still not going to get on Medicaid. You have to do the financial eligibility, and it's that financial eligibility that gets you down. They check all your banks, and I don't know how they do it all, but they can do a really good check to make sure that you are down to your $2,000 in assets. But that system takes time. It's not supposed to take more than 45 days. However, the clearinghouse has managed for it to take up to 6 months for people to get that eligibility. And what we try to do on anybody who is over the age of 60, if you happen to be a frail elderly person, we try to fill in the gap while you're waiting to get your financial assistance qualifications. Because in 6 months, you could actually end up in the nursing home. And you can go into the nursing home whether you have money or whether you don't have money. The nursing home will take you. However, once you do run out of money, they want you to be on Medicaid so they can obviously get paid. There's just a time frame in there where we can be a gap filler for people. But if you're under the age of 60, if you happen to be physically disabled and you're trying to get onto Medicaid and you can't get that financial eligibility, you could have the 6 months in there where you get no services at all and you just keep muddling through whatever you've been doing in the past and not leading a quality life. And that's just the way the system is right now.
Would be a significant increase to the tax base of the state if those people, the number of people that you're treating and servicing, were in care facilities.
Yes, yes,
So-
yes.
It's a great service, and I commend you for the work that you do.
Thank you, thank you. Any other questions?
You are fortunate to have some of those people that work for you that are willing to go in and, hey, let us go help this person
Oh,
out. It's
goodness,
amazing.
yes. I've got really good case managers. I've got a real good staff right now, so I am a very fortunate person.
Okay.
Any other questions?
I think so. Thank you. Could we have
Okay,
a minute?
thank you.
Could you come up and just introduce yourself for us, please?
Hi, I'm Angie Logan, and I'm the new Executive Director for Mid-America Nutrition. I started at the end of September. I submitted to Joy a budget report for your 7 areas, your 7 sites here. and hope that you were able to review that a bit. And as you were speaking about, Richard, we are in the home 5 days a week in our 6 counties in addition to our congregate meal sites. So we're serving the homebound elderly, the Miami County Jail, and currently 3 after-school programs. And having been a long-term social worker, I really believe that we're preventing emergency room overuse, which costs the taxpayers, having been a social worker in an ER, quite a bit of money. And we're also the eyes and ears for the elderly. So in my opinion, we're really offering free social work case management services by being in the home. In the estate recovery prevention that we're talking about as well, that happens when we step in to provide long-term care assistance, is, huge too. So I think that our program is really, really valuable and important. In Ottawa, we've suffered quite a bit of loss on our donations for the home deliveries, and hope that you all will continue to fund our services, because our work is very important and meaningful, and we prevent that premature admission to long-term care facilities as well. I think having somebody in the home, can also expedite medical need and services if necessary. That's happened on a couple occasions. I've gone out with 4 of our 7 drivers in the counties to actually deliver myself, to see how the process works, and those relationships and the connection that the isolated, lonely elderly have with our drivers is very powerful and significant. So I thank you for funding us, and I hope that that continues. Any questions for me?
No, I will say those Meals on Wheels drivers, that's the one contact they check on that person that day. They just don't drop a meal off. They make sure there's things in the house okay, going all right. Those people are also, a lot of them volunteers and whatnot, are working very low wages, and that's a big plus for those kind of people.
Yes, and Congressman Finch I've been working with, and he is going to be working on amending a bill to include all AAAs and nutrition sites throughout the state of Kansas to help provide benefits for our staff. I've been working on that with him since the end of September, and finally kind of went through and got some leverage there, so that the staff that is committed to doing this, living on low wages, will be able to have the offering of non-state employee health benefits. So that's been one of the initiatives that I've been real passionate about pushing through, and he's been a big supporter. So
Good.
yes, thank you so much.
You bet. Thank you. Okay, our next item, request to use the courthouse lawn for upcoming art festival. Come on up, ladies. Bring your team.
Yeah, get up here, baby. Hi, I'm, good morning. I'm Lenny Giason, Director of Main Street. And this is Peggy Armstrong. She's our Promotions Committee Chairman. And we had an art festival last year down at Haley Park. It was the first time we had tried it. And so it was 10 artists. That's about what Haley Park will handle. And then we had, in our little gazebo, we had like about 4 bands that played throughout the day. We coincide that with sidewalk sales and things going on. There was a lot of people downtown. We figured there was like 100 or more people mingling in and out. And we started thinking about the planning and everything this January. And we thought, wow, we could expand a little bit with this. And but it was in July, and it was hot, and we were thinking we need a better facility, and we needed to keep it downtown. Most of the businesses would like us to gear more of our events downtown, and keep the people like walking around downtown, and keep their registers ringing that way. So I'll let you ask permission.
Okay. We would like to move it to the courthouse lawn due to the space we would have. We could increase the number of people that were willing to come, but we had no place for them. Plus your trees, it will be cooler. They can also set up tents if you'll allow that. And this gives them their shade that they need, and it also, we're not on concrete, which automatically makes it cooler. but,
I do have a map if you want to see it of how we've got it laid out. Because we don't want to take away from the food, the restaurants and people downtown, but we did want to bring in like some festival food, like the funnel cakes, the snow cone shack, and also there's a donutty professors that come from Paola, and they provide breakfast items and stuff. So, but we had it all. We kind of have it set up so that we're utilizing the 4th and Main, the south end of the courthouse lawn. We would have the artist along the Main Street, of course, in that area, and then move it as far east as we needed to, and then have the band around the memorial, but far enough away that it does not, they will not be. It'll be safe.
we don't want to
And so-
infringe on the memorial because that's a beautiful site, but we figure if we come down midway, then we can set up requests from the city for the benches and set those up on there for the people to sit and enjoy the music and maybe to eat if they do. But the merchants wanted it, asked us to keep it downtown, not to take it to City Park. So we thought, well, the courthouse lawn would be a nice area if it's agreeable.
Are most of the tents then what the vendors bring in, your artists bring in the regular size? Will you have one big, are you gonna have a big tent at all, or just the small ones that people bringing in?
Yeah, we were just gonna let them bring their own little
Okay.
10x10s in and stake it in the, in the ground. This is June 16th that we're talking about, so it's a month earlier. A little cooler, so they may not all need tents, but we weren't gonna provide a big tent. We were just gonna provide our own little info booth there, close to the memorial, close to the corner, so they could find us, and
You have a specific date then?
June 16th.
June 16th.
Yeah, it's a third Saturday. We do third Saturday sales downtown, which is it's worked in the past couple of years where that's when all the stores downtown provide special discounts or have snacks in the store, or just to bring people in and to have them help purchase items. Did you want to see a map of what we were thinking, or?
I don't think so.
Okay.
Sounds like a great use of the courthouse lawn. I wonder, the trees, we have plans for removing some of the older.
I had
older
heard
trees.
that
I'd hate-
too,
I'd
yeah.
hate for, you plant around a tree that didn't show up.
Oh, no, that's why they bring their
Yeah.
tents. But yeah, the trees, when I went down and looked at it the other day yesterday, and just made sure that I knew where the power was, where the trees were and things. And there are quite a few trees, but I knew after talking with Paul Golden that they were planning on.
Okay.
They had to take out a couple of the trees. So I don't think that's, we'll be planning more towards Main Street and give them that option of having their own.
Will people be driving around on the lawn with the cars
No,
and trucks?
no, they'll be able to park on Main and unload, but and they don't have. No, they won't be driving. They won't be driving. We are intending to block off like 4th and Main, and I'll have to clear this with the city as well if this is okay with you guys. But we'll block off 4th and Main, and we'll block off 4th and Hickory. That way, that leaves kind of an area, and then they'll be able to park on the east side and also on the west side of the courthouse.
Is Main Street providing restroom facilities?
That's a good question.
Oh, we didn't have that one down.
But we can. I mean, we can put a porta potty in that area. Usually, if we're going to block off a street like we do at 2nd and Main for Haley Park, we will sometimes provide like a porta potty for that area. And with the restaurants around, we want to drive them to the restaurants. We don't want to, we want them to benefit from that. We have 5 in that little area right there, I believe. And but we can consider that, providing a porta potty right there too.
Okay, any other questions? Any objections or anything?
You need a motion for this, or just okay, I'm for it.
Yep. Sounds like a good deal then. And we'll work with our maintenance people and staff down there on the lawn and stuff,
We've
so.
already talked with Paul and got his input, so I think we're pretty well
Okay.
prepared, so.
Well, thank you very much for
All
coming.
right, well, thank
Good luck.
you, appreciate it.
Okay, our next item is receive a Community Partners Quarterly Update from Ransom Memorial Hospital. Matt?
Good morning, Commissioners. I appreciate this time and being able to provide an update on Ransom Memorial Hospital and what we've accomplished since the last quarterly update. Before I do so, I'd like to commend Sheriff Richards, who's sitting in the back. I saw him back there, and I thought I should make mention of this. We had an incident at the hospital, or a potential incident at the hospital a couple of weeks ago, and our community law enforcement did a remarkable job keeping our organization and our patients safe. We threw a little pizza party down at Ottawa, at the police department yesterday, with many staff members from the hospital showing up just to tell them how much we appreciate their support and how they stepped into action so quickly to help us avoid a potential incident. So I wanted to commend one of your agencies on their stellar job before I get started. We have fully transitioned into the new emergency department, so that took place in December. It was a smooth transition by all accounts. I heard our East Central Kansas Area Agency on Aging and our Mid-America Nutrition talk about trying to keep as many people out of the emergency department as possible, and they do a wonderful job doing that. However, the information that I'm going to tell you is that we have seen record numbers in our ER. Has nothing to do with the earlier presentation, but we have been hit extremely hard by flu. The CDC named Kansas at one point in time last week the sickest state in the union. So it's being put to use very, very quickly, and the patients enjoy, to the best of their ability, they enjoy the privacy that they now have in each one of the rooms. So the emergency room docs are, again, board-certified emergency medicine physicians. We partner with Shawnee Mission for their support and providing a higher level of care. We have also moved to an employment model or cardiology care. Historically, we were partnered with Olathe Medical Center for cardiologists to come to our community, and that partnership over the last several years has eroded to a certain degree, and so we looked at another partner, and the partner that we've selected is Shawnee Mission, again, for their support in cardiac care. We employ all of these cardiologists through a professional services agreement, so for all intents and purposes, they're our own cardiologists, which is something new for our organization. It's allowing us to keep far more cardiac-related patients locally, and it has allowed us to expand the breadth of care that we're providing from a cardiac standpoint. A few weeks ago, we received a sleep accreditation letter through the American Academy of Sleep Medicine. That's on the back of a new physician that we recruited to our community, Dr. Kokenauer. He's a sleep specialist. So we've gone more, or we've moved away from just having a sleep lab in the hospital to a full spectrum of sleep services. Dr. Kokenauer is located in Annex Suite 4, so just right down the hallway, and is here 2 days a week, and we're actually starting to look at bringing him in 3 days a week based on need. We recently closed our Baldwin Clinic outreach outside of Franklin County. We thought that we need to focus all of our efforts in Ottawa and Franklin County, and so Dr. Goodwin was our family practice physician who was taking care of patients in Baldwin City. She now also is in Suite 4, right down the hallway. So many of the Baldwin City patients have followed her down here, and she's growing a nice population of Ottawa and Franklin County patients to that primary care practice. We recruited our first pediatrician to the community, so Dr. Chris Koster, also in Suite, now not Suite 4, but in Suite 3. So we appreciate the partnership that we have with the county in renting space or leasing space for our physicians. Dr. Koster has been here for several months now, has grown a nice practice. What our intent was with bringing in Dr. Koster is we have a sizable population of community members who receive pediatric care at locations outside of Franklin County. And what we've seen by bringing him in is we've seen patients actually starting to come back to the community that were receiving pediatric care in Kansas City metropolitan area or Lawrence. So the majority of his patients are patients that are now being seen here that we're seeing in Kansas City and Lawrence. In addition to having a pediatrician, he is working hard to bring in pediatric subspecialists, so pediatric cardiology and pediatric endocrinology to very significant needs in our community for our kid population. And in addition to that, he's working on developing a neonatal intensive care unit level 2, so the same level of NICU as Olathe and Lawrence. Dr. McCullough, our general surgeon, has started an outreach program in Anderson County. They needed additional surgical support. They lost one of their general surgeons down there. They reached out to us, and we struck a deal with Anderson County. So every other Thursday, Dr. McCullough will be going to Anderson County to provide surgical consults and surgical procedures in their new facility. The hope is that through establishing those relationships with the physicians in Anderson County, after hours and weekend surgical care will come up to our community hospital instead of going up to St. Luke's. Dr. Swanson has developed a new program for us. We do have a sizable diabetic population in our community, and we do everything we can to prevent diabetes from an upstream approach, but unfortunately there still is a large diabetic population. One of the unfortunate consequences of having maybe uncontrolled diabetes or even controlled diabetes is that wounds don't heal well, and so a lot of patients were leaving the community for wound care. Dr. Swanson has been hired and employed to fill that need for us. He's doing skin grafts and wound care in the operating room at the hospital, and is providing a service that we haven't had in our community for quite some time. In your bags, I brought I think you either have a coffee mug or a water cup. We have expanded our brand. So the new brand on the west side of the ER says Ransom Memorial Health, or RMH. It was important for us to maintain the Ransom and the Memorial part of it, but we were as we've grown, we've become a house of brands. So we have clinics in different locations, and there was nothing really that pulled us all together underneath one singular umbrella. We are more than just a hospital. We have rehab, and as you're aware, we have multiple physician practices that are scattered around the community, one up in Wellsville, and so we decided that maybe this was our opportunity to brand our house. And so underneath the large umbrella now of RMH, or Ransom Memorial Health, I think that we've got that accomplished. Within the last 60 days, we've taken a hard look at our mission, vision, and values, and we have revised those. Leading into that, we're going to have cultural transformation classes that Laura O'Connor is going to be heading up. We're moving, so our mission statement, our new mission statement is remarkable care. Our vision is excellence every patient, every time. And then we have core values that build the foundation that will lead up to the new mission and vision. The cultural transformation classes are looking at taking patient care from just care to looking at the fine details of what potentially impacts a patient's perspective or their perception of care. So sometimes it's maybe they don't like the yogurt that we serve, and this is an example, and they're used to having a certain type of yogurt. And so it's looking at some of the smallest details around patient care, and then paying attention to those details and executing on those so that our patients get delighted, so to speak, in their patient care experience at our organization. The board, as well as all staff members of Ransom Memorial Health and all physicians that provide service at our organization, are going to be going through these cultural transformation classes. If any of you have interest in joining us, I will send Laura O'Connor your way, and she will pass around a sign-up list for you. Other than that, January we're going to show record volumes across every statistical category that we have. We have been busting at the seams. We have been double occupancy in some of our inpatient rooms because we haven't had enough inpatient rooms. And so this has been an extremely busy month for our organization, but a good month too. And I'm here to answer any questions if you have any.
Question for Matt.
Any new projects on the horizon since the ER's done?
We always have projects in the pipeline. That's what makes healthcare fun. There are lots of changes that always take place, and so Something that we're looking at doing is trying to figure out what we're going to do as far as repurposing the old emergency department and how we stage that. Our pre-op area is probably now the most dated area in the organization. It doesn't have, doesn't allow for private conversation with the physician or family members because it's just got a curtain that you pull. And so we're looking at making all of those private so that we can prevent sensitive patient information from leaking out. So that's maybe one that's in the pipeline.
Well, certainly congratulate you on the updates that you've made and the impact we're having on our community. I think that's great in bringing in all these different agencies or people to service and all those needs. So it's a plus for the county, and certainly congratulate you and your staff for what you've done.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, Derek, anything else under correspondence?
Yeah, I do want to talk a little bit about Midge Ransom. The other night at the annual banquet for the Chamber of Commerce, she won the Russell Kreitz Award, which I believe is awarded to an individual for their outstanding service to Franklin County. And certainly Midge is an incredibly valuable member of our staff. And she's really everything that we look for in the organization. She's proactive, she's clever, constantly looking out ways to do things better, more efficiently, and certainly just be of more value to the citizens of Franklin County. And so I'm very excited for her.
Right, yeah, I think so. And she even remarked when she received the award about the employees and her staff. And, you know, she's a great leader. And then she has the people there to help her bring all those things to fruition. Boy, it's a big plus. So, yes, it was well-deserved, and it was nice to see one of our employees be recognized publicly for what they're doing. Okay.
On top of that, Melissa's here. She is an award winner for her work at Prairie Paws, and congratulate her for receiving that award.
Yes. Yep. Now, thank you, Roy, for mentioning that. Okay, do we have anybody public comment?
Nope.
Okay, consent agenda. Items of consent agenda are consider and approve the Franklin County Commission meeting minutes for January the 24th. Consider and approve the claim vouchers in the amount of $657,000, $452.04. Tax change orders in the amount of a negative $19,192.98. And approve the payroll for the pay period of December 21 through January 20 of $1,193,936.86. Do I have a motion for the consent agenda?
So moved. To approve.
Second.
Commissioner Howard?
Yes.
Commissioner Waymire?
Yes.
Commissioner Oglesby?
Yes.
Commissioner Dunn?
Yes.
Chair Renaud?
Yes. Okay, our first item of business then is consider for approval a resolution waiving the gap requirements for 2018. Janet?
As you guys may remember, we do this annually. We try to do it in January generally, just to cover us for the whole year. And when Rodney comes, our auditor, in March, he takes a look at it for the previous year. This just says that we are waiving the generally accepted accounting principles, and we'll be adhering to the cash basis law, which is according to Kansas statute.
Right, it just makes our accounting system work much better, so. If I have no questions, why entertain a motion to approve the resolution?
So moved.
Second.
Commissioner Waymire?
Yes.
Commissioner Oglesby?
Yes.
Commissioner Dunn?
Yes.
Commissioner Howard?
Yes.
Chair Renaud?
Yes. Okay, staff reports.
Yeah, last week I handed out a set of restrictions and covenants for Proximity Park and asked you all to take a look at them and come back with any questions that you have. I have Larry here. Larry and I both had a hand in putting these together along with the City of Ottawa. Do you guys have any objections or questions pertaining to these documents?
Are they, I guess, in line with what other communities require?
Yeah.
Not way above what, go ahead, Larry.
We didn't try to invent the wheel here. These were in part taken from other parks in the greater Kansas City area. Also looked at those over at some developments in Topeka. And they assembled these, and then we went through them and really trimmed them to meet the needs of our community. And I think that after about the fourth go-through, we finally got a pretty decent set. Those will be, of course, employed and enforced by the city, but we did play a role, at least, in making certain recommendations to the city and the national structure of these covenants and restrictions.
Industrial design requirements, so I wouldn't feel qualified to say that they're good or bad, but I guess my main concern, which you guys could alleviate, is that there's nothing in there that is extraordinary that would put us at, I guess, a competitive disadvantage that we would require of a potential user that.
That was one thing that we wanted to make certain that we weren't employing some kind of overkill in these restrictions, that did provide flexibility in the design. There were some things that were nailed down fairly tight, and that's landscaping, the maintenance of landscaping, and trash enclosures and things of that nature that are an integral part of the overall development of the park. But at the same time, the focus was on the structures themselves, and it did provide flexibility in the ability of the development community to come in with little different approaches than adhering just to the absolute letter of this.
So, as I read through it, they all seem to have a lot of flexibility built in,
Right.
where you can kind of imagine they'd work for different users and different needs. I mean, you never know what's gonna move in or ask to, what's gonna be in front of us, but they seemed as if they would adapt.
Well, like I said, we didn't try to invent the wheel. We used what we could out of other developments and what was being imposed with their covenants and restrictions.
Anybody else?
I think we've hit that balance, and I'm very pleased with these. I think when you put these together, you can put together a document that's far too restrictive that will put you at a competitive disadvantage. On the other hand, not having anything is a potential turnoff to these buyers as well, because they want their neighbors under they don't want to come put down a $1 billion investment or $100 million investment and then have someone come in next to them and not be subject to any regulation. And so I feel like we're right in that zone where we've got a good balance between those two considerations. So
I thought it struck a good balance as well in trying to keep what our vision is for the area. And the only piece of that document that I found was the final page where it referred to Mayor Skidmore as a her, but that was, I know the document's a little old, but I don't know if Mike knew that or not, but
sure.
Well, there were a few of those little glitches that got caught at the 12th hour, I can assure you.
Okay. All right, thank you, Larry. Derek, anything else then?
No, not at this juncture. At our next study session, I plan on having Chief Robbins as well as Alan Radcliffe in to give an update on both how the dispatch transition is coming, which very brief overview is it's coming very well. Sheriff Richards has been great to work with. Feel like we're getting a lot done. The advisory board continues to meet. And so far, it's been very cohesive. And so, and then Alan, I'll have him come in and give an update on exactly where we're at with our radio system. But I know despite the weather, progress has continued to be made there as well. And so we can look for that at the next study session. Beyond that, I don't have anything more this morning.
Okay. Sheriff Richards?
I have nothing unless any of you have questions for me.
Okay. Okay, thank you. Melissa, any comments? No?
If you have any questions on my report, I'm happy to answer them.
Okay, yeah.
Start 2018, great.
Okay, yeah. Joyce forwards those to us, so we have them, so that's good that we get those updates. Janet? Okay, commissioner comments and board reports. Rick?
Okay, I have a couple things. Yesterday, the new tourism board met for the first time, and I think we have an excellent board put together. Everyone was there. I think we had 2 people missing that were out with either other prior commitments or sick, and mostly it was meeting each other, talking about what times would work for everybody to meet. We did get into quite a bit of talking about the present way of marketing and some other ideas. I think, like I said, I think it's an excellent board that's been put together, and I think I'm looking forward to seeing some good things coming in the future. And the second thing I just wanted to bring up, last weekend I had a neighbor that had a fire get away from him, and I went over and was trying to help him put it out, and needless to say, we weren't gaining too much on it. And there was a lot of grass in the area. A pasture right next to him had a large pasture with a lot of grass. And I just want to say, when the Williamsburg Fire was called, their response time was amazing. They were there really quick, had several of them show up, and they took this and put it out, and it kept it from turning into a pretty good-sized deal by the response time and the job they did. So I think sometimes we take those guys for granted, guys and ladies for granted, and just want to put out there to appreciate what they do, and we'll be seeing a lot more of those people when spring gets here with the grass and stuff. And so appreciate the job they did and how quick they responded. That's all I have.
Didn't have any meetings this week.
Okay.
Just the chamber banquet.
Yeah. And then Deb Barker's thing, it was Sunday afternoon, was the retirement, did a good job honoring her, so that was great. I had received a letter from the East Central Kansas Area Agency on Aging. I've been on the advisory board. Roy is on the policy board, and they have asked me also if I'd be willing to move over to the policy board. And Elizabeth just explained to me that that was not unusual to have 2 commissioners on there. It's not replacing Roy, it'd be an addition. So it'd be, if the board's okay with that, I'll move over to there. It's, I don't know why or how, but I got there, but it's something I appreciate their work and enjoy that. So if you have comments on that or something, let Derek know or whatever else. Otherwise, I'll let them know that I can do that and move into that board, meet with them. Okay, study session on Monday. Other than that, if there's no other comments, consider a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
Second.
All right, motion and second to adjourn. All in favor? Aye. All right. We are adjourned. Thank you.